This is our interview with Tim Saylor from the hit TV show Diggers, which you can see on National Geographic. Tim is also going to be teaching a course at summer seminar called Digging for Dollars, and we'd like to welcome Tim to the interview today. Hi, Tim.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us today for the interview. And we wanted to get to know a little bit about you and the course that you're going to be teaching at Summer Seminar this year. We do know that you're actually a recent A&A member, correct?
Oh yeah, I just signed up recently, but oddly I've collected coins since I can remember.
And so, what was it that got you into coin collecting to begin with?
I think the earliest memory I have of actually being interested in coins was in my grandmother's basement. There was this plastic piggy bank. It was bright red and it was plastic, and you couldn't get the coins out without destroying it. And I mean, I remember this as a little kid shaking it all the time, and it was full of stuff. And I always asked my grandma if I could look at what was in there and all that. And she's like, well, one of these days I'll give it to you or whatever. And finally, one day she finally let me open it up. And there were like silver dollars, Indian head pennies, and all kinds of stuff in there. And I was hooked from that moment on.
What do you say you collect most then?
I used to collect pennies, really. And I had all the blue books, and I'd sit around as a kid, maybe 12, 13, 14, and I'd punch all the pennies into the holes in the books. But these days I have a typeset. I have one of those books that it's just a typeset. But what I really collect now are things I found in the ground. It just has a different meaning when you dig it up after it's been lost for over 100 years. It's just cool to see it come out of the ground.
Whatever you can find in the ground, that's what you collect then.
Yeah, like I have my typeset, and of course I don't know that I'll ever find a 20-cent piece.
Right.
And so I bought myself one, and I've got that. But outside of that, I actually had like over 100 silver dollars, and I sold them all because they just didn't have the same meaning to me that the five that I found out in the ground did. So now all I have left are the ones that my grandma gave me and the ones I found in the ground.
So, for somebody like you, grade of a coin doesn't really matter that much, would you say, or?
Absolutely not. In fact, people used to make fun of me. I just buy. I used to collect baseball cards too, and I'd buy any old card. As long as the corners weren't cut off of it, it could be folded in half. I just wanted the card and to be able to read the stats on the back and put it in the collection. It's the same with coins. I mean, it's got to be aesthetically pleasing. It can't be chopped in half really, but it's got to, you got to be able to read the date and everything. But the wear on it doesn't bother me at all.
Okay. So the dirtier it is, the better, the better story that's behind it, the more you're going to like it.
For sure, I like that.
All right, all right. Well, how did you find out about the A&A?
Actually, I don't know if you know Mike Ellis. He is one of the governors of the ANA.
Know Mike well.
He is a great guy, and I had no idea who he was. He just sent me an email one day and was asking about, I don't know, it might have been a token or a coin or something, and we just started a conversation, and he turned out to be a really funny, hilarious guy and knew a ton about coins, and he just kind of got me interested in it again, and we started talking, and one thing led to another, which actually led to this interview and the seminar that we're going to do this summer. So we've been in contact, we've traded tokens and all kinds of stuff. He's a great guy.
All right. So with the course that you have coming up out here during summer seminar, what are students going to learn who sign up for that?
You know, a lot of the stuff we're going to be teaching is stuff you could actually learn on from a YouTube video maybe. Depends on what kind of machine you have and all that. But there's also the stuff, aside from like ethics and how to dig a hole and all that you can learn on the internet. It's the intangible stuff and the hands-on stuff that they're going to learn when they're at the seminar. Sometimes it's just better to be there in person, and you can ask those questions that you just can't ask to a computer. And you can go over things more than once and really learn some of the, little subtleties. What does something sound like? What does a coin sound like if it's an inch from a nail? How about, half an inch? What if it's right on top of it? Are you going to dig these signals? And sometimes it's stuff that's a lot simpler than that, like how do you get permission to go on a site, there's so many different things that you can cover. We're never going to get to it all, but part of the feel of the seminar thing is it's hands-on, and we're going to answer the questions that the people that sign up for it ask us.
Okay. When you mentioned that ethics was part of this, what ethical concerns come with metal detecting?
Oh, there's all kinds of them. I mean, you know, a lot of people, you just see, say, a metal detector guy walking along a beach, and they don't really think any deeper than that. They don't know that there's all kinds of places like national historical monuments and stuff like that. You're just not allowed to run around with a detector and go anywhere you want. I mean, you need to go ask landowners for permission, and beyond that, you need to treat the land with respect, and follow the landowner's wishes. If he's got a ranch, you don't leave the gate open and let their cows out and throw trash around. I mean, you just need to be a person and use some common sense. Just do the right thing. I mean, it's just there's a lot more to it than you would think right on the surface. And one of the most important things is you need to just be sure you have permission before you go on to a site. And we need to hit that home.
Oh, absolutely. Uh, what the, Tell me a little bit about the art of detecting, if you will. There's now different machines will make different noises based on what it's detecting. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. You know, I guess I use a certain machine. Everybody sees it on TV, so I mean, it's no big secret. I use a Garrett AT Pro, like an AT Pro and an AT Gold. Lately, I've been using the Gold a little bit more lately. It's designed to find little tiny pieces of gold in the ground, but it also does fantastic for coins and relics and everything, and I just kind of got used to it. But just as an example, that one kind of has three different basic sounds, like a low, mid, and high, and then there's variations of them. But I always compare it to kind of like playing a musical instrument, because if you've done it a long time and you go see somebody like, I don't know, Eddie Van Halen playing the guitar, and you realize how good he is at that and how long it took him to get to where he was, it's like that. It may not be quite that dramatic, but it's in the same vein. I mean, you have to do this and spend a lot of time with your machine before you really hear those little subtle differences, and no amount of talking is going to teach that to somebody.
And that brings me right into my next question. It's a great 1 day opportunity to hang out with you and KG, learn about the basics of metal detecting. But for students who do take the class, what do they do after the workshop to continue learning about this aspect of the hobby?
Well, what they can do is they can practice on their own, obviously, but the best thing to do is go look for local metal detecting clubs, because a lot of those guys have been doing this for years and years, and they'll be able to tell them, all kinds of little tips. And if they're local, they may know of places that, you know, nobody's really going to give away their big best spots, but they may know of some local parks that are allowed for people to go in there, and they can go in practice, and they can find all kinds of clad chains and really get a handle on their machine. That's one thing. They can make it a social thing, because some people don't really like going out on their own all the time. I mean, unless you're just one of those people. A lot of these clubs, they have social events outside of detecting, and it can really be a good, fun thing. And over time, you learn stuff about detecting, about places to go, your local history, and all kinds of stuff that goes beyond just digging a hole in the ground.
Okay. I've been meaning to ask you also, what's the story behind your nickname? You're not just Tim Saylor, you're Tim the Ringmaster Saylor.
No, that was way back before TV. I mean, when all of us, like Team ATC, just started as kind of a fictional thing. It was just a joke, because, like, you don't really pay dues to belong to it. It's like if you feel like being a member, you can be. It was a funny thing we just created as a joke. KG, me, his brother Bones, and T.O., all local guys here. And
Uh,
we all have our nicknames. They were all given to us by each other because we had to kind of earn them. Like King George, he got his by because he kept finding silver dollars, and none of us had found even one yet. And we were just like, you're the king, you're the king. And so it just kind of stuck. And then I found so many rings over a short period of time. When we first started detecting, every time we go anywhere, the four of us, I'd be the one that pulls up two or three rings. And finally, I just became known as the Ringmaster. It was just kind of a weird thing, and it stuck.
nice, nice. Of the, I imagine hundreds, if not thousands, of objects that you've pulled out of the ground. What are the top, two or three coins or tokens that you've found that you really are happy that you found? Most proud of finding, I guess.
Okay. You know, it, I'm not going to base it just on value because I know I found one of the rarest barber halves ever, and it was in beautiful condition, and that's one of the top ones on my list. But I think, I think just because George and I had never ever found a gold coin before, ever. When we were in New Orleans, we shot a show down there, and we found our first gold dollar. In this little tiny area. It was nothing valuable. It was just in 1853, no mint mark, but it was awesome to just actually see gold come out of the ground and still be like shiny. And
Right.
that same day, we found an 1857 half dime, which is also way up on my list. But some of my favorite ones were a 1904 S Barber dime. It's not an easy coin, and it's not extremely rare, but it's pretty rare for a barber dime. And when I saw it come up, I just couldn't believe it because usually you find a coin and it's always the common one. And I looked it up, and of course, like, you got to be kidding me. That thing could be worth $100. So I was happy about that. And then, of course, I don't even know if I should really be talking about this, but spoiler alert if you don't want to hear this. I don't know if this show aired yet, but I finally found my first Spanish real.
Oh
And
boy.
I flipped out. Uh, it was only a little tiny half real, but man, as soon as I saw the back of it with the crown, I knew what it was, and I had a meltdown. So that, and the fact that I found my first colonial coins on the show, I know that this one aired. I found a 1729 colonial coin, and that was my oldest readable date ever. So that one also goes to the top of the list.
Outstanding. One of the things I think makes the show Diggers so interesting is that sense of wonderment, that sense of excitement that you and KG both have whenever you pull something out of the ground. Um, and in fact, the National Geographic Channel describes you guys as having your own very unique language for while you're out there. Can you talk a little bit about that? I guess that excitement and that camaraderie that you and KG have on the show that we see, and the enthusiasm that you portray.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a weird thing that just developed over time, over years and years of just being out with, KG, his brother, and To. We're just all out there trying to make each other laugh, and it just kind of it wasn't a conscious thing, and then it just became something, and people started noticing it. And after we started recording ourselves and making our extreme metal detecting videos, I mean, we just put it right in there and kept it going, and it's just a goofy thing. We didn't really think it was anything until people noticed it and pointed it out to us. That's all just been good fun, you know. The
So,
people,
any plans on releasing, say, like a dictionary so that people, can master the language, or?
yeah, well, I actually kind of did already. I wrote a book several years ago, maybe 2008, and it's just about some of the adventures we had in detecting, and then I had some tokens and kind of a guide in there. But at the very end, it had a glossary of all the weird terms we used. I'm sure we could add a few more to it now.
That was Anaconda Treasure Book, Treasure Hunting with Team ATC.
Right, right. Yeah, that came out in about 2008.
Tell me a little bit about how you and George became such good friends and ended up having a TV show together.
Oh, that was totally unintentional too. I mean, we met several times, at parties out here in Anaconda, Montana, or just at, local events, and really didn't even remember each other's names. And then one day I was fooling with this old metal detector I found under my bed, and I found 3 silver coins under under my backyard, and it got that bug started in me again, and I was talking about it, and he overheard it. He goes, "I always wanted a detector," and next thing you know, we're talking about ordering, a basic model, and it grew into, well, we better order the best on the market, and then it snowballed into those crazy videos. We have 6 of those out, and next thing you know, TV companies were calling us left and right. It was a weird, weird thing. It didn't happen overnight, though. It took several years.
So the TV show though that came about from essentially videos that you guys had put out on the your extreme metal detecting videos, and that caught the attention of National Geographic.
We had several videos already out, like those EMD 1 through 6, and those we had little tiny clips that we took from those and put them on YouTube just as kind of teasers. And somebody at a production company noticed those on YouTube, and next thing you know, they called us, signed us, and then sold us to National Geographic.
Did you ever think you'd be on TV doing something that you love?
Not in a million years. I moved out here to get away from people and everything, and just have a little peace and quiet in the mountains, and now it's just an explosion of activity every day.
So where's been your favorite places that you've been able to go detecting?
Oh, man, I'll tell you. There's so many, but some of our favorite ones, I gotta say, are some of those forts out east that have been off limits to everybody because they're protected. And we had different archaeology crews and historians and, the museum keepers invite us out. And we found so much stuff because nobody had ever been there before. I mean, every 2 or 3 inches there was an awesome military button or a coin from the Civil War. It was incredible.
So what's on the bucket list? Where would you like to go next? If Nat Geo came and said, "We'll send you anywhere you want to go," where would you go?
Well, I want to go to Europe. I want to dive down to a shipwreck, and I want to do the White House lawn, in case Michelle Obama's listening.
Last question for you. I understand that you like to strum the guitar a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean that goes even back further than detecting. I mean, my brother and I played in bands for 20 some years.
Well, we have a great tradition at summer seminar. It's called the Lunar Lounge. That's where a lot of students like to gather late at night. Sit around, strum the guitar, look at the moon, talk about coins, talk about what's happening in the world, and we hope you can come down to the lounge and hang out with us during summer seminar.
Oh, that sounds great. I think I'll have to throw my guitar in then when I get on the plane.
Well, hey, Tim, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today, and we really look forward to having you out here in Colorado Springs for summer seminar this year.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks a lot.